Okay, let's go ahead and start the meeting. And the first thing to do is the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay.
And I'll be leading the pledge. So everyone, put your hand over your heart. And this is a little difficult with Zoom because there's a delay. So let's do the best we can. I'll start. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible,
liberty and justice for all. And Mike, would you do the invocation, please?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd be glad to. So in solemn expression, everyone, as we enter a new year of deliberations and decision-making, let us be mindful of our responsibility to the public. Let us ensure that our decisions are made in the best interest of all, wishing safety and good health to all.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Is there any public comment?
You got roll call first, Bob.
Oh, I see. Oh, roll call, please.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Director Brett Eccles.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Here.
Vice President Mike Schaefer.
Here.
President Robert Uden.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we've done. Now we do. Are there any late communications?
No, Mr. President, nothing was received from the members of the public.
Okay, we go down to, I believe, the consent calendar.
Public comments.
Are there any, okay, now, are there any people on the Zoom meeting that would like to make a comment? If so, raise your hand, please. Seeing none, we can go on down to the consent calendar. Does anyone have any items? Pardon? Does anyone have any items that need to be removed from the consent calendar?
Move for approval of the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Can we scroll on down, Nolani? Thank you. Okay. Scott, are you going to introduce our new district engineer, Mark Esker?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you very much. It is my pleasure to introduce to the board of directors, to staff, and to the public our new district engineer, Mark Esker. I'm very excited for him to be a part of our team. He has over 35 years of experience in the wastewater profession. 20 of those years was at Orange County Sanitation District in a variety of capacity. I think he led the engineering department, the contracts divisions, small projects. He's just had a wealth of experience at OCSD and in the wastewater profession. He went off to the private side for a couple of years, and we're really glad he's wanted to come back in the public sector and wants to be an employee of CMSD. So I'm very excited for him to be with us. His first day at the district will be next Monday, February 1st. So he is here tonight to say a few words, or if you have any questions for Mark. So I will turn over to Mark. So thank you so Mark, it's all yours.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hello. Yeah, I guess I'd like to thank Mr. Carroll for this opportunity to work for Costa Mesa Sanitary, and I'm looking forward to working with the board of directors and serving your local community. And Bob, it'll be nice working with you again. You were my second boss technically, but I've known you a long time, and I look forward to working with you and the other board members.
Well, welcome aboard, Mark. I think Scott gave you a little more credit. You weren't in charge of the engineering department. You were in charge of the engineering for the operations and maintenance and collection system. And did a lot of small projects. And I think Mark I'm very pleasantly surprised that Mark is interested in and has been selected to work for us. It'll be it'll be a great addition to the district. Welcome, Mark.
Yeah, this is
Thank you,
Mike.
Bob. Those are kind words.
Mark, this is Mike Schaefer. I want to congratulate you on succeeding in spite of the fact that you had to work for Bob Uten. So that shows true grit and testimony. Congratulations.
I knew Mike was going to say something like that.
Well, Mike, I was a mentor.
That's what I mean. Congratulations.
Succeeded without.
Okay. Okay. Can we go on to item number 2, which is receive and file the fiscal 2021 mid-year budget. Is Caitlin going to do this, Scott?
Yes, Mr. President. I'm going to turn this over to Caitlin Tran, our finance manager. She'll be giving us a report.
Good evening, Mr. President and member of the board. In front of you is the mid-year budget report. Based on the spending trend through December 31st, 2020, staff is projecting a minimal savings in the solid waste fund and the wastewater fund. There are many accounts that will be over and under budget, but today I will only highlight on a few accounts. Everything else is addressed in the written report. A total 48.3% of the solid waste budget for the fiscal year has been expended. At this time, staff anticipates a savings of $2,800 at fiscal year end. The majority projected savings are from personnel and programs. 16,300 from personnel, 62,000 from programs. Due to COVID-19, many programs and events were canceled. The code enforcement officer was not working as many hours, and staff did not work overtime since events were canceled. Under M&O, staff projects there will be a few accounts over and under budget. I want to bring to your attention 3 accounts. The trash hauler account, staff anticipate a savings of $14,000 at year end. The district has not been getting many new accounts during the first 6 months of this fiscal year, and it could be the result of COVID. Not many people are moving or purchasing new homes. In fiscal year 2018-19, there were a monthly average of 17 new accounts. Fiscal year 2019-20, there was a monthly average of 11 new accounts. And the last 6 months, only about 2 or 3 new accounts monthly. Recycling disposal account. Due to the COVID-19, people are continuing to work from home and making more online purchases, resulting in generating additional solid waste at home. Staff anticipate this account to be over budget by $84,000. The projected saving of $14,000 from the trash hauler account that will help offset this overage. Organics disposal account, again, due to COVID-19, staff anticipate this account to be over budget by $26,000. The schedule below in the staff report shows the organics tonnage as of December 31st. Overall, disposal is up by 528 tons compared to this time last year, with the second quarter trending 10.7% above last year's levels. Staff also projects some of the accounts that will be over budget at the end of the fiscal year, such as the liability insurance, the EOC, and additional container accounts. Staff projects there will be savings in the following accounts: legal services, public information promotion, professional development, utility and bank merchant fees. Moving on to wastewater fund, a total of 43.4% of the wastewater operating budget has been expended for the fiscal year, or for the first half of the fiscal year. At this time, staff anticipates a savings of $213,000 at fiscal year end. As of December 31st, the district has 2 vacant positions in the wastewater fund, the district engineer and the wastewater maintenance worker 1. The district engineer will start in February, as Scott mentioned earlier, and the maintenance worker 1 will start possibly in March. Staff projects that the personnel budget will have a savings of $62,300, mainly from the overtime benefits and part-time salary accounts. Staff projects the following accounts to be over budget at fiscal year end. Sewer line maintenance. This account has a budget of $25,000 for contract sewer line cleaning assistant. Due to COVID-19, the district hired a contractor to assist in cleaning sewer lines. Staff estimates this account will be over budget by $52,000. The overage in this account will be offset by the savings in the televising sewer lines and the sewer inspection rebates program. EOC equipment and supply account, the district purchased TS Plus to allow employees to work remotely. The district pays monthly fee to Zoom, and also personal protective equipment and cleaning products were purchased. Staff projects this account to be over budget by $19,500. Liability insurance account, SDRMA increased rate for this fiscal year. As a result, this caused the liability insurance account to be over budget by $43,600. Staff anticipates there will be savings at the end of the fiscal year in the following accounts. Engineering services. As of December 31st, only $8,468 has been expended from this account. The district engineer will start soon and take over the duties from the contract engineer. Staff expects this account to have a savings of $30,000. Plan checking and inspection. This account has a budget of $90,000. As of December 31st, only $10,257 has been expended from this account. The district engineer will take over the contract engineer services. As for the district inspector, the in-house inspector has been overseeing the contract inspection services since July of 2020. Therefore, staff expects this to have a savings of $79,000 from this account by the end of the fiscal year. Professional development and training. A few conferences and trainings have been canceled due to COVID-19. As a result, staff projects this account to have a savings of $53,500. The wastewater capital outlay is projected to have a savings of $14,500. The district budgeted $53,000 to purchase a vehicle for the inspector. However, staff postponed the vehicle purchase and used $38,500 of the fund for the artificial intelligence manholes project. Now moving on to revenue. As of December 31st, the district received approximately $187,000 in property taxes, about $3 million in solid waste, and $3.1 million in the wastewater assessments. I want to bring to your attention that the total amount placed on the county assessments, was approximately $200,000 less than what was budgeted in the solid waste fund. And this was because the actual number of accounts came in lower than anticipated during the budget process that took place 2 years ago. If you recall, the district adopted a deficit budget in the solid waste fund of approximately 358,000. The combination of these two could end up to be about 558,000 in deficit in the solid waste fund at the end of the fiscal year. As of December 31st, the district has not been receiving as much revenues as expected in the sewer permits and inspection fees. The savings in the plan check and inspection expenditure accounts, as I mentioned earlier, will offset these accounts. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have any questions?
Mr. President, I do.
Brett, go ahead.
Yes, Caitlin, just, I'm sure Vice President Schaefer can talk to this as well, but on the general liability increase of 21%, can you just briefly summarize what made up that? And I see it was written that it was reported to us in last year's fiscal year, but if I'm reading correctly, wasn't it's going to come in over budget this year. Can you just hit on that note?
Mike, do you have an answer for that?
It's essentially the cost of the liability insurance. The reinsurers that are involved with SDRMA had underestimated the effect of the wildfires and some other things. And so the availability of reinsurance and excess lines insurance sort of dropped off the table. Those corporations that offer those coverages were able to come back into the market, and unfortunately they were at higher rates. The good news, if there is any good news, is that we should be seeing some savings on the workers' compensation side of the insurance package. Those rates of COVID, if COVID has done anything, it's lowered work injuries. People working at home, injuries have gone down. So we're hoping through SDRMA to see some leveling out of the property and liability side of it, and then to be offset a little bit by the workers' comp. But availability and the cost of that availability is what drove those rates.
Thank you. And Caitlin, just am I reading correct that it was reported to us last fiscal year, but we didn't account for that, or maybe I'm misreading it in the report?
Yes, so we were notified last fiscal year, but because we do a 2-year budget, so this budget that we put together was 2 years ago.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions from the directors for Caitlin?
I had a comment. Caitlin, when you were talking about the code enforcement car, and then you said that being we didn't need to utilize it at the time, the amount that you took it away, does that mean we're not going to do that now, or what's your comment on that?
I believe that because of COVID, and so Scott said and because we were moving money around, and Scott said let's postpone the purchase of the vehicle until next budget and use that money for the manhole, the artificial intelligent manhole project, because we're in the middle of that project. And we needed more funds for that project.
Okay, that makes sense. And I just wanted to comment to you too that CSDA will be giving all the Zooms and webinars free of charge to everybody who is a member. And the ones who aren't members will have to pay $95 each. So I just wanted you to know that you'll be getting some relief on that too, if you were budgeting for this.
And you're referring to trainings, correct?
Yes, or anything, that we have.
Any other questions from the directors?
Just real quick, Arlene had said, Caitlin, Director Schaefer or Secretary Schaefer had said the car for code enforcement.
Yeah.
That isn't what that.
I'm sorry, inspector.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it was a new, we were going to purchase a new car for the inspectors, and that is what has been delayed.
But when you say inspectors, it's not for Ed,
Oh.
for code enforcement.
No,
Okay.
Oh,
That's for Bao Vong, the
Exactly. I'm sorry. I should have said that.
Oh,
For
thank
Bao,
you
to use, yeah.
for clarifying that. I didn't know that.
Okay, so
Okay.
here's a quick question, and I guess I'll direct this at Scott. As we look forward to getting the inspector a vehicle, are we looking at an electric vehicle for him?
We will, I can't remember, we were looking at some type of energy efficient vehicle. Yes, either a hybrid, most likely a hybrid.
Okay.
Because I don't think they have, we're looking at getting a truck. I don't think they have plug-in trucks. So
Well,
some
Tesla-
kind of energy efficient vehicle, definitely.
Yeah, Tesla has an electric truck, but I wouldn't recommend getting that one.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yes. I think there's a waiting list for that truck anyways.
any other questions from the directors on this item? If not, we'll move to, we at the study session, we had a pretty extensive discussion about the PAFR. And unless any directors have any questions about that for Caitlin, do I have a motion to accept that? Oh, it says receive and file. Okay.
Yeah.
So that doesn't require, so do we need a motion to receive and file the PAFR?
No,
No,
Mr. President.
No, you don't, Mr. President, but if I may say a few comments, if that's okay?
Sure.
Sure, thank you. I just want to congratulate Caitlin and her staff, Lou and Autumn, for putting together this wonderful report, which I think is our best one yet. As you recall, last month, I believe you had our auditor explain to you or went over our CAFR, our comprehensive annual financial report, which is something we have to do legally and every year. Every local jurisdiction has to produce a CAFR, but they don't have to produce a PAFR. But the reason why we produce a PAFR is because we always take pride in being transparent and open in an open government. And unfortunately, reading a CAFR can be a little intimidating because if you're not a finance expert, it's hard to read. So what the PAFR does, it takes that 100-page document and condenses it into like a dozen pages and makes it really user friendly. So anyone can understand what we spent up to for last fiscal year by using a bunch of graphs and charts. And Caitlin and her staff did a wonderful job. I believe we are going to be recognized again, I think the 5th consecutive year, by the GFOA, the Government Finance Office Association, which is a national organization. And so we're very pleased to receive that award. Not many local governments, particularly in Orange County, do a PAFR, surprising or not. I'm really surprised how many cities and special districts don't do a PAFR, because if they really talk about being open and transparent, here's an easy way of doing that. But I'm surprised they don't do it. But with that such, I'm very proud of our staff for putting together that PAFR. So
yeah, both documents have a lot of very good information. So let's go on. Scott, are you going to lead the discussion on the preliminary budget calendar?
No, I'm going to turn this over to Caitlin. She's going to, because it's going to be her big responsibility of putting our next 2-year budget together. So I'm going to turn this over to Caitlin.
All right. In front of you is the preliminary budget calendar. The schedule represent the outline for creating and adopting the district fiscal year 2021-22 and fiscal year 2022-23 budgets. Staff will be working on different aspects of the budget from now until May study session, and we'll update the board as we go. This item is open for discussion if the Board of Directors have any questions or changes to the preliminary calendar.
Do any of the directors have questions about the calendar?
No, just hopefully we can meet the deadlines, the target dates. That's the key. Can we meet those target dates, Caitlin?
I will make sure I hit those target dates.
No,
I would move to approve the proposed dates as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. Item number 5, we also had a lengthy discussion about the sewer system management plan, and we need to approve the recertification of the plan. Scott, several of us had some questions. Have those questions been addressed in the sewer system management plan update?
Yes, we updated so as you know, last month you also received the audit findings of our 2015 SSMP. So based on the findings we made and recommendation, we incorporated those changes into the plan, which is before you tonight. I believe we addressed everyone's concerns. What we do need board action tonight for approving recertification of this plan.
Do any of the directors have any questions about recertifying the sewer system management plan?
Yeah, Bob, this might real quick. Oh,
No, go ahead, Mr. Vice President.
thanks, Brett. Scott, I know you presented this to the CAC last week. Did they have any questions or any comment on the program?
They had one comment to make. I think our chairwoman made a suggestion. Actually, a good find is that we weren't consistent on the awards that we mentioned in the booklet or in the plan. So it was a good catch. We cleaned that up. So that was about it, really, of all any other comments made.
Yeah, this is a 5-year plan, and I think for some reason there were 8 or 9 years of awards.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun to look at them and list them, but they don't deserve that much attention. But Brett, did you have a comment?
That actually, Vice President Schaefer stole my thunder. We're thinking alike tonight. It's a good thing. Same question.
I hope so, bud. I hope so. Would
President?
someone make a motion to recommend to adopt?
Mr. President, before you do that, could I ask
Yes.
Scott? We had a question, or we wanted to make sure we included some language about sampling. Was that done?
What was the question? Like, I can't remember what it was.
We just want to make sure that when appropriate, we'll perform sampling as required by the WDR.
I will double check if we did or not. I can't.
Well, if we could just make sure we add that sentence in there in the appropriate place.
Sure.
Thank you.
We have done some sampling, when we've had a sanitary sewer overflow, but I think it's appropriate to put it in the SSMP. What would someone recommend?
I'll move for approval, President Uten.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Scott, are you going to lead the discussion on receive and file the annual performance measurement report?
Sure. Yes. Thank you, Mr. President. So this is our annual report. I believe it's our third one since we adopted this program. It just gives the board and the public, make everyone aware of the progress we made to achieve some of our performance goals. I won't go through everything in the report. I will highlight a couple of outcomes. One is, unfortunately, we did have some sewer spills in 2020, but the good news is that we were able to recover 97% of those spills. So that's good. Also, towards the end of the report, you'll notice our social media activity is just going through the roof, thanks to Nalani and her staff of really engaging in social media, sending out PSAs and social media posts, and making sure that the public is aware of our new programs and what to do and what not to do with trash and sewers. So very pleased with our social media outlet and what staff's doing. So happy to answer any questions you may have. Again, this is a report's work in progress. So you'll get your 2021 report in 3 months, our quarterly report.
Mr. President,
Yes.
question, Scott, on the X mod went up obviously over 1, now at 122. Can you walk us through that one?
Sure. So that's basically how an insurance company will determine your rates, right? Your insurance rates based on your EMOD. So if you have an EMOD that's above 100%, that's saying that you have more than an average work-related injuries. You experience more than the average of work-related injuries. The goal is always to get it below 100%, because that means you have below average. Unfortunately, we did have a few people that had some accidents. We had one employee who fell off the back of the truck and hit his head. Some other, I'm trying to think of some other injuries, trip and falls. Sometimes they're just minor, like bee stings, whatever. But whenever we have an injury, also we go back and we learn from that. Okay, what did we do and what can we do differently to mitigate, make sure that doesn't happen again? And that may include some additional training if necessary. So hopefully that EMOD will go down next year. We'll wait and see. But yeah, that was unfortunate that it was that high.
So my experience and in my business, I mean, if you're around that 125, where you're actually precluded from many different types of businesses and the rates. So Vice President Schaefer earlier mentioned the market itself is trending downwards, but our comp rates are going to go up pretty significantly based on that X mod. Am I correct?
Well, not necessarily, because we are in a pool insurance program.
Okay, right.
So it really, just because our EMOD, it might go up, but because we're in a pool, it shouldn't go up at that very high. And that's why you're in a pool.
Right.
Because, yes, you might have experienced a lot of claims, but the pool will help absorb that. And that's why I think that's why we're seeing our rates going up overall, because a lot of the special districts have experienced a lot of claims.
Okay. Yeah, essentially, Brett, with the base rate, and I'm sure you know this through your workers' comp, our base rates are going down. So while we might be at a 22% mod, it'll be less of an impact than if we were at the higher base rate. The base rates are really the key to all that, and I'm sure you recognize that. So hopefully it'll mitigate itself to some extent.
Good deal. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to receive and file the annual performance measurement report?
Bob, before you move on, I had a quick question to Scott.
Sorry.
On page 10, when it talks about the code enforcement cases not being resolved, and they're yellow with the 68%, does that just mean people aren't responding to our warnings or whatever for putting their trash cans away?
Yeah, it could be. It also could be just, Ed's just not closing his work orders on time. So we need to address that with Ed. Some people, some of them are repeated offenses, but they go beyond like the 2-week period. It's a work in progress. So I need to consult with Ed and really get to the bottom because it did go down from 88 to 68%. It did decrease significantly. And that's, again, that's the whole purpose of the performance measurement. You're going to have these ups and downs, and if
Right.
it goes down like it did, okay, what did we do wrong? What are we going to do to correct that? And so I had to have that discussion with Ed.
Well, we've tended, as a district, we've tended to be more lenient and not be, a dictatorship in having people put their cans away. But it's those repeat offenders that would probably trigger my interest, that those people need to learn to put their cans away.
Yeah,
And I'd be curious to see how that all works out.
sure.
Well, we always have this item on the study session, and maybe we could, Scott, you could have, you and or Ed can address any corrections that are needed in that area.
Yeah, this would be a good, I think it'd be a good item for a study session agenda to have Ed just go over again the process of what he does, what he looks for, and how we try to be friendly. I mean, I guess be good neighbors, good government, and not be strong-handed in issue citations. So how do we try to be nice and get people to comply with the ordinance? So I think it should be good presentation for Ed to give to the board.
And
Any other questions?
Mr.
Oh.
President, sorry, one more question I had.
Sure.
Scott, on page 30, the solid waste rate versus CPI. I understand the rates from 2019 and all that, but my question is on the goal for 2020 was 3.4 and come in at 7%. Wouldn't we have? When was the goals established, and are they altered after the 2019 new rate structure?
That's a good question, and we probably should look at altering it. We basically go on was it February to February CPI, but those rates are already established, so that we know we know that what our rates are going to be the next 3 years, and CPI is not going to be a 7% CPI in the next year or so. So yeah, that's not a bad suggestion. I think maybe for 2021, that's one thing we can look at adjusting.
Yeah. I hate to see red. So
I do too. I agree.
When we know what the rates are, I would think maybe our goals could be adjusted. So yeah, definitely something to look at.
Good suggestion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President.
We need a motion to receive and file.
No motion necessary, Mr. President. Just
Okay, it's a receive and file. Okay.
Yes.
Same thing with the strategic plan quarterly update. Scott, are you going to lead that discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Same thing, just receive and file. Just again, this is your quarterly report to give you an update on how we're progressing to achieving our strategic goals from our new strategic plan for 2025. As you know, this is our most ambitious plan, over about 104 strategic goals. I am pleased to announce that we have achieved. I'm trying to look at my staff report. We achieved 24 goals already. I'm trying to minimize my picture here. Sorry about that. Hang on 1 second here. I'm trying to get back on technology. There we go. There we go. Okay. So so we have completed 24 strategic goals. We have 61 that are in progress. 8 goals are delayed due to COVID-19. So hopefully maybe later in the year we get those goals going again, and 11 haven't started yet because of their due dates. So I believe we're on our way. This is a good start for the new year and the new plan. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Scott, I have a question. We were asked to submit, say, 3 goals at least, to help you out as far as what the directors would be willing to have you look into. And have you done this? I mean, do we get a report that we see what those goals are?
I think are you talking about item number 9, performance goals? These are I'm talking about. These are strategic goals.
Director Schaefer, I think we'll talk about that under item 9.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
We're getting close.
Okay. It's okay.
Just a comment, Scott, I appreciate the all the red dots. And when I first read them, it was really obvious that the ones that are delayed are COVID related. I mean, it's pretty evident, isn't it?
Yes.
Can we go on then to item number 8?
Yes, sure.
Receive and file the 2020 year-end report. Scott, is this also you?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'm pleased to present to you our year-end report for 2020. And again, I want to congratulate Nalani and her staff, Gina and Angela, Gina and Angela, for putting this report together. They did a fantastic job of what we achieved. In 2020 was a challenging year because of COVID-19, obviously. And I'm still, even with this challenging year with the pandemic, we achieved extraordinary outcomes and goals, and I'm very proud of staff of what they were able to achieve in 2020, and I hope you are too after you read this report. So this is just a receive and file. It's just another tool we use to demonstrate to the board and the public of what we've achieved during the year. So again, congratulations to Nalani and her staff, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Do any of the directors have questions on this report?
Really well done report.
Yeah.
The thing I like about this, and also about our PAFR, is normal. I'm not sure what that word means, but the common people are able to understand these, Scott. And I really agree with you. Staff's done a great job of putting these things together so that they're easily understood and the points get put out there. So nicely done.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, can we go on to item number 9?
Yes.
And this is where we talk about Scott's performance in 2020 and my selection of but subject to the boards of directors and interpretation or change are the goals for Scott for 2021. Do you want to go over your 2020 goals first?
Thank you, Mr. President. So, as you know, this is something that many general managers I don't believe do is talk about the performance in an open session. But I do believe in open government and being transparent. So, I have no problem, and I really enjoy sharing the outcome, the goals that I've been able to achieve, and talk it through with the board on what we plan on for in the future. But typically for 2020, so I had I think 10 goals a total. Unfortunately, I could not achieve all of them. As you can see in item number 1, we could not. The goal for item number 1 was to have fewer SSOs per 100 miles than Region 8, and unfortunately, we did not achieve that. We did have 4 sewer spills in 2020. See, one, I think I said one was caused by cooking grease from the residential neighborhood, and again, that's always challenging. I think it's one of the biggest challenges we have is trying to prevent grease from residential homes entering to the system. I think we do a very good job on the business side and on the restaurant side, but on the residential side, it's a different story. It's always been a challenge for us. So we had a spill for cooking grease. We had 2 spills caused by the force main air release valves. And again, we learned from that then we implemented an inspection program. We are going to remove one of our air release valves later this year. We relocate another one. And like I said, we're inspecting those on a yearly basis now. And then we had another SSO caused by rags. And again, it's hard to prevent anyone from disposing rags down the system. We do PSAs and try to inform public not to put rags or what they call disposable wipes down the system, but unfortunately they still do. So unfortunately, we had those 4 sewer spills so far. Knock on wood, nothing so far in 2021. I know it's early, but hey, you can always still hope for the best. then again, I'm not going to go over everything, but you can see everything. Basically, everything done in black is what I achieved or partially achieved. And then there's a couple of goals that did not achieve, either due to COVID-19 or other circumstances. But yeah, that's those are the goals that for this year. So happy to answer any questions you may have.
Well, Scott, you said some of them were going to lop over into 2021. You expect to complete some of them in 2021. I forget which ones they are, but
Yeah, let me see if I can. If you scroll up a little more, Lonnie, I think there was. I don't think it was a goal, but it was something for 21. That's something I'm going to focus on doing in a way. I think that was one of them was a professional development plan for my staff. So need to sit down with them and create a plan for in the future, what they want to, where they want to be in the next 5-10 years. What's their career goals. So that's something I need to sit down with my staff. That's something I want to do. I don't have that as a goal for next year, but it's definitely something I want to still do.
do any of the directors have any questions on Scott's performance as outlined in the 2020 performance goals and his explanation of how he's performed? Okay, then if we can go on to the goals that I. Oh,
Scott, when you say the rags are the problem, is it the true what they call disposable wipes, or is it the larger wipes that they look like it'd be something you'd clean somebody up in a hospital bed with that's causing the problems?
No, I believe it's the disposable wipes that they sell in the market that say that dissolve, but they don't. It's those wipes. I think that's what most people, especially during COVID. You think when toilet paper was scarce, that's what people were going to be using.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Scott, just to add to that, we're members of SWANA, and we get a lot of. I'm sure all of us get the emails from SWANA about programs they're doing, and countrywide and even worldwide, some things. It would seem like SWANA could help get the word across to these manufacturers of these disposable wipes. Pick up a package and they all say flushable. Well, they're not flushable. And you'd think the organizations that we support would give us some help and go to these companies that keep advertising the stuff that they shouldn't be doing. But I don't know.
There's always bills being introduced to like relabel disposable wipes, but they
properly labeled.
Yeah, properly. They push back really hard, and they've got a lot of money, and they've been very successful in winning, of winning as far as not getting these bills passed. So I know every year there seems to be some kind of bills being introduced to try to, like President Uden said, reword it to tell the public, look, these aren't disposable. So, be careful about them.
Well, and it's kind of this mixed thing is, especially with the solid waste group, they probably don't want these wipes put in the solid waste stream. You know what I mean? I mean, they are not the most pleasant things in the world. They have waste on them. So I think they sort of turn their heads a little bit because they don't want to put in the landfill either.
Sure.
Well, I think the two leading agencies statewide and nationally that work very hard to do what Scott is talking about is the California Water Environment Association, and even the local section, our Santa Ana River Basin section, and the National Water Environment Federations. They talk a lot about and propose assisting the collection systems and the treatment plants and preventing these products from getting in there. And so far, they're all adamant that they shouldn't be in there, and they have not been successful, as Scott has said, in preventing them. And I don't think they're going to give up. Those associations are extremely, the Manufacturers Association, and we dealt with that issue and I was involved in it, and we were trying to get something done. And I can't remember what, but it was endless. No, we're not going to do that. And they move at the pace of a turtle.
Yep.
And the sewers aren't winning. Okay, can we go on to? I think you all have a copy of, and I think the directors who submitted some of these ideas to me. But I'm big on whenever we have a report, we do an implementation plan, to finish it. Lots of times, the big reports are done at a lot of cost, both in our agency and Orange County Sand District that I'm familiar with, and others, and they just go on the shelf and don't get completed, even though a substantial amount of effort by the consultant went into them. So what we did at Orange County Sand District was we decided we would do an implementation plan to have an outline for what was suggested should be done in those reports. So you'll kind of see that theme as we go through this. We're just concluding the Tri-Pepi contract. There were a lot of contractual requirements for Tri-Pepi, and what goal number one is somehow. And we've been briefed on some parts of it. Scott talked about a little bit of it earlier. And develop some sort of a list of what we expected them to do, and give us an update on it. And some of them are probably in the performance measurement goals. We need there historically. When I came on the board in 2006, we had 18 public sanitary sewer overflows. And we've made significant progress to the point where some years we're down to one. And I potentially think there were some years when we had none. And so what we did was we studied how those sanitary sewer overflows came about, and we took steps and got the funds, to enact different measures to get them done. But we used a form back then, and Scott has told me that we still use it. So what I've asked him to do is each time we have a sanitary sewer overflow, that form, be presented to the board in his general manager's report. And if we have 5 in one year, there'll be 5 of them on there. There'll either be a pump station, a sewer, or there'll be fog related, there'll be rag related, there'll be structural sewer related. So we have a summary of the year's sanitary sewer overflows. And number 3 is a big effort by Orange County Sand District is to minimize the rain that gets in the sewers, generally by inflow. Inflow comes from water over the sewer manhole, and it gets into the sewer. And our sanitary sewers are not designed for that. So again, what I'd like with the new engineer on board is to go back and take a look at the 2 major efforts by Orange County Sand District to reduce water that should not be getting in the sewers, and go back and work with the Orange County Sand District staff and see if there's anything that we're missing. I know that in the first one, we were above what the policy goal for Orange County Sand District was, and we're now taking some major steps to find where the rainwater gets in the sewers and shouldn't. So what I would suggest is that we look at those two reports with an eye towards anything that might pertain to the Costa Mesa Sanitary District. And we do a strategy to decide what, if anything, to do about that. The diversion, we have a diversion goal set by the state, number 4. And number 4 and number 9 actually go together. And we talked about it at the liaison committee meeting. The city is beginning to develop strategies to meet the proposed 75% diversion rate goal set by the state. And I think that's coming up in 2025, and that's not very long from now. The overall goal that we have we in normal times, the sanitary district achieves about a 62% diversion rate, and we deal with just residential customers. And the city is a little higher than that, but they would like to get to the 75% criteria. So we're going to work. The sanitary district will work with the city and other partners and their consultants to develop strategies that have to be implemented pretty quickly in order to get the city to the 75% diversion goal. And historically, number 4 shows some ideas we've had by collecting electronic devices, and then a new aspect of that is maybe a centralized location. We'll propose to the city that maybe there should be a centralized location for the gardeners to take grass clippings and organic wastes, and we'll see if the city can figure out how much that might save. We did discuss an implementation plan for the SSMP recommendations. There were quite a few in there. We need a plan to make sure that we are aware of and then follow those recommendations. And a lot of the board members appreciate the newsletter, and but Scott has historically notified us when the newsletter is going to be printed in a timely manner so that we can make input to that newsletter or make recommendations for the input to that newsletter. There was in the SSMP a discussion about, or somewhere we've had a discussion recently about making, I want to say damn sure that we clean the sewer system in a timely manner. And I would like Scott to come back to a study session in the future with a strategy for how that is to be achieved. And Scott has historically worked with, and I think it's been to our district's advantage, working with CSDA and leading committees and training other general managers in doing general manager training. And then number 9, I've talked about that. At Orange County Sand District, I'm now the director there, and I have noticed that they had a very important plan to understand the impacts of climate change. There are 25 member agencies. Climate change will increase sea levels, supposedly. And that means that some of the Orange County Sand District's pump stations along the coast could be inundated. They now know which ones they are. What I'd like our new engineer, Mark Esker, to do is look at that report to see if see what impacts might. They show maps of where the inundations will occur, or how far inland the water might sea level rise might happen, and that's less than, and they also talk about tsunamis. And some of our pump stations and some of our collection system at sanitary district are in the riverbed levels. And so what I'd like Mr. Esker to do is see if the two pump stations and need anything to protect them like the Orange County Sand District has done. Sorry for the long-winded process, but does any of the directors have any questions or comments on those goals?
I have a comment, Bob.
Yeah.
Is that state requirement for organics 2025 or 2022? I thought it was 2022.
Well, I think it's 2025, but we should check that. It's not as it's imminent even at 2025.
I know, but that's why the city's getting hot on it, because they know it's coming up.
Yeah. Well, I think Nabilia is Nabilia, and we will be part of that process. And when that date is, when we confirm that date up, we should report it out at a study session. We should report out what we can do, what the city expects us to do, and maybe that date also then.
Right, and I think we can be a major part of their helping to design their program.
We are major. We have the trash is 17%. The tonnage of trash is 17% or so from the residents. So yeah, we need to be a part of that.
Right, I agree.
Well, I've talked these over with Scott earlier today, and I think we have a meeting of the minds that these goals are worth the sanitary district doing. Does any other director have any questions on them?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Just question for Scott on, and Director Perry mentioned as well with the city and the organics and what's coming 2022, 2025. Is there a point where the two entities, us and the city, and of course, starting with staff, collaborating, best practices and suggestions, and also things we can do together, is that already going on with at a staff level, and then at some point maybe a dual study session, if you will?
Scott, can you answer that?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President and Director Eccles. Yes, we have been collaborating with the city for many years on programs. And it kind of tailed off there a little bit as they were going through some staff changes, but we picked it back up again. I think it's prior to the liaison committee, we had a nice meeting with their public service director and their assistant city manager and some other staff members, and so we agreed to continue having those meetings. I'll double check on that law 1383 if it's 2022 or 2025. I was under the impression it might be 2025 myself, but we'll double check and I'll report back to the board what year it is. But whatever year it is, 2022, 2025, it's just around the corner. So we need to collaborate with the city. And so, yes, that's in the works and we plan on doing that.
I think the 2022 number is when they hope to have a plan in place, and then they'll implement it as soon as possible. And it's a goal. I believe it's a goal. But there are some threats about fines and whatnot if entities don't make that goal. So we'll have study sessions on that.
Hey, Bob, just to interrupt real quick, you're talking about AB 1383.
Yes.
It's 75% by 2025.
Yeah. Okay.
I
think the 2022 number, Art, was probably a goal to have a plan in place to meet that 2025 number.
Well, 2022, the enforcement and penalties start, but 2025 is the goal date.
Okay. Well, in addition to a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better get it ready by 2022 if you're gonna have enforcement and penalties.
Yeah, I agree, Art.
I think we can really help the city in their development of the program. And I was thinking, should we have, well, along with staff, should we have one of our board members attend those meetings? Because we have a little bit more insight, I think, than the city people do. I think the ways to do it, because we've already been talking about it for a year.
Well, yeah, and maybe at a study session, we should decide whether we should have an ad hoc committee. The state is historically well able to threaten, and I don't believe in this arena they've ever gone after an agency. But I think the city is very dependent on their consultant, Michael Ballier. The unfortunate part about with the staff at the city is a lot of staff moved through those positions, headed towards their final performance area or their goal of where they want to be in this city or other cities. And so Michael Ballier is going to be the driving force. He's worked with us before, evaluating CRNR practices, and he's a single driving entity that they can depend on.
Bob, does he work for the city also?
He is a consultant for the city, and he does their diversion reports and weighs in on solid waste matters.
Okay.
And any other questions on these potential goals, or can we make these the goals for Scott and not potential goals?
I'm fine with them. I don't know if Arlene has any additional ones. I don't know if she submitted any to you.
I did. I submitted them and I'm fine with all of them. I just wanted to know what the others were, because if we redundantly did some.
I think Bob took the redundancy out when he went over them all, I believe.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah. When I was president back a long time ago, I gave Scott 20 goals.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't think that's appropriate anymore.
Maybe that's why we were told we can only give 3 or 4 apiece.
Well, the reason I asked Nalani to only give 3 or 4 was because yes, we want to keep them focused and minimal, and proper and of benefit to the agency. So, okay, that's receive and file.
Thank you, board. I look forward to working on those goals and achieving all of them this year. So thank you.
The next item is the engineer's report. Does anyone have any question on the capital improvement project status report? I have one. There is a as we talked about earlier, air and vacuum relief valves, or air relief valves, have been a problem in the sewer system. And I think we have 11 or 12 of them with our 20 pump stations.
We have 7. I believe we have 7.
Okay, there's 7. There's 7, and in this it's called Eldon Avenue project. There's a focus on 4 of them. The one that I would like to see included in or some attention paid to in a capital improvement plan is the Irvine pump station air relief valve. It's had at least 2 spills in the past since the station became operable a number of years ago. So it's been an Achilles heel for us, but it's not presently in that CIP list, at least. Anyway, we need to talk about that at a study session when we get an update on that. So that's a receive and file. If there are no questions, then we'll go on to the treasurer's report. Mark Davis. Mark, are you there?
I am here. Thanks, Mr. President. Good evening, board members. This is your quarterly review of your investments for the district. Just looking at what's going on in the markets. Today, the Dow closed at 30,960. It was down 37 on the day. Year to date, that is up from the beginning of January to now 354. The Fed has continued to say that their plan is to keep rates near zero for the foreseeable future, which does play havoc with our portfolio because we're very much tied into how those rates are going to be set. With that, we continue to have a number of securities that are called that do have call features on them. As of December 31st, your portfolio was earning 0.699% on a duration of 805 days, which is about 2.25 years. Looking at how the portfolio has performed over the last year, last January, the end of last January, the portfolio was earning 1.801%. So we've gone from 1.801% down to 0.699% in the span of a year. We've done it pretty gradually. In March when COVID happened, the bottom fell out and lots of our benchmarks fell off the table at that point. But we've been slowly going down, and that's going to continue to happen. During the month of December, we had 3 investments that were called, all federal agency securities. The highest one was earning 1.97%. It was called after a year. We had one called at 0.5% and one at 0.75%. We replaced all 4 of those with 5 different investments. We invested in 2 federal agency securities, 1 negotiable certificate of deposit, and 1 medium-term note with San Diego Gas and Electric. And with that, that is really all I had for this quarter's a quick little discussion on the status of the portfolio. I'm available for any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have questions?
Bob, I have a couple quick questions. Hey,
Go ahead.
Mark, our biggest investment is through LAIF, right?
At this time of year, yes, it is LAIF. It's not always the case.
Okay. You've always been pretty comfortable with what we do with LAIF. Are you still feeling pretty good about it?
Oh, I'm very comfortable with LAIF. LAIF has provisions written into the law that prohibit the state of California from tapping into those funds. So I'm very comfortable having that as being our short-term liquidity, if you will. And so what happens and why LAIF is so big right now is we've got our first allocation of our annual charge, first big one in December. And when those monies come in, we use that to be able to prepare for our dry period coming up in the May through June timeframe. So all that, it usually ends up going to LAIF. And so we'll see LAIF spike in December. It will draw down to April. We'll see it spike again in April, and then it will draw all the way down until we get to December. So it's about as big as you're ever going to see it right now.
I think I ask you this. I think I ask you the same question every year, and you always give me the right answer. I like that planning. I like the way we use it for the dry period, and that you always reassure me every year when I ask you the same damn question. Second thing I had was, what do you see nationally after what happened in the election and with the new administration? Do you think rates are going to continue to stay low?
This is just Mark Davis speaking. So
right. I know.
Yes, I do think that rates are going to continue to stay low. I think that our portfolio is going to continue to be a challenge to get any kind of interest rates. We have a certificate of deposit that matures the end of this month, and it's earning 1.79%. And I was looking to replace that, and I'm for a 2-year investment, I'm going to be stretching to get 0.1% on that for 2 years. so yeah, I think rates are going to continue to stay low. I think that there's uncertainty, as there always is a little bit with the change in power at the national level. The markets are kind of reflecting that a little bit in the last few days with some uncertainty. You know, everything is going to play off of that. That depends on how the stimulus talks go with this next round of stimulus, and if there's actually going to be some movement there, that could end up driving markets a little bit. You know, so it's really, you know, you dust off your crystal ball every morning and do the best you can.
And you do a good job with that always. But as we hope to see relief economically with the COVID affair, and as things hopefully get back to some semblance of normality, do you see rates being affected by businesses getting back online, or are we still playing it out for a couple of years?
I truly think that we're going to see the rates in this sector probably for 2 years, and where we're seeing them right now.
Yeah, I agree. So thanks, Mark. You always make me feel better.
Hey, Mark, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
When we talked about LAIF, what is the interest rate we receive from LAIF?
LAIF right now is earning 0.54%. And that is, you got to think about that a little bit. That sounds really low, but that's daily liquidity. So I'm earning 0.54%, and I can access all of our funds the very next day, which is pretty unheard of.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be better to put more, when those other things close, put the money into LAIF because we're going to get a higher interest rate?
No. And the reason that is because the other securities are tied up a little bit longer term. LAIF, because LAIF has to maintain that high level of liquidity so that all the governmental agencies can be able to access their funds next day. They're more volatile than other investments are, and so we've seen LAIF interest rate. If you look at the investment report on the graph on page 3 of the investment report in the agenda packet, you could look at the line for LAIF and see that that they have gone down. They were pretty high to start, and then they're down below what we're earning right now from an investment standpoint. So, you know, if I take dollars out of what we have to move over to LAIF, we will be reducing our investment earnings to do that. So I don't think that that's the right move at this point in time.
Okay. Just curious.
Any other questions for Mark? If not, can we move on to what is next? The local meetings?
If I may, Mr. President, this is
yes.
an action item.
I'll move acceptance for the investment report.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any dissent? Approved unanimously.
Mr. President, even though I don't have anything listed as under attorney's report, I did want to mention that I sent everyone the updated selected laws memo, which the veterans in the group will only need to read the highlighted underlined portions, but I know Director Eccles was asking about it, and I wanted to be sure he received it, and I do recommend he read the entire 10 pages if he's never read anything like that before.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was quite thorough.
Thanks.
Anything else, Alan?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, we go on to local meeting reports. You know, I'm now the director for the Orange County Sand District. The meeting actually is next Wednesday. It's going to be an extremely short meeting. It's basically an organizational meeting, and to go over the general manager's work plan for the year. There were no committee meetings, no operations committee or administration committee meetings in January. They'll start up again in next month in February. Art and I will also be attending an orientation meeting by the put on by the Orange County Sand District early in the month, and in the middle of the month we'll be taking a virtual tour. There will be the operations committee meeting, the administration committee meeting, and the board meetings. The chair has made committee assignments, and I'll be on the operations committee as I requested. I'll also be on the GWRS ad hoc committee, or it can't be ad hoc. Well, there are 3 members on that committee, and maybe with 25 members, you can have more than 2 members on a committee. And then I'll attend the board meeting. And Director Perry will be attending one of the committee meetings and the board meeting, I believe.
Yes.
And the orientation and the virtual tour committee meeting. So it'll be busy for next month. The Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency. Art, did you attend that meeting?
Well, it's not till Thursday. So I'll take notes of that meeting and give a report next month.
Okay. I asked, there was a question about why we do the SARFA, why we attend the SARFA meeting. Orange County Sand District has a director that's assigned to the SARFA meeting. Basically, it's an important meeting, mainly centered around flood protection. Prado Dam would be the largest item on their agenda, but there are other items that Art has mentioned in the past, and he always brings a very thorough report. Director Arlene, do you have ISDOC also meets, I think, this Thursday?
Yes, the lunch meeting. Yeah, I'll be reporting on that.
And has CSDA been active, Secretary Schaefer?
You want me
Or
just
no, it's Vice President. Let's see. Okay, I guess we'll go down to item 5.
No, Arlene needs to report on number 4, Bob.
Okay, Arlene, please report.
Okay. To start out with, ISDOC had their meeting in December, and that was kind of a meeting of everybody getting together for the last time, because then the changeover is in January, which it was. And so now we have, President Mark Mooten, as well as we have me as first vice president. And then we are, unfortunately, because of the election, Eileen didn't make it. Eileen, who's from Irvine, and she's been on forever. So now we have an open seat, and at this next meeting in February, we'll be looking at who could fill that seat, and it'll be on legislation, which will be good. And so Sandra Jacobs is now gone to the former president, and so she's out of the presidency. So this Thursday is the general lunch meeting, which will be virtual. It won't be, in person at all. And I have as the guest speaker, Don Burns, and he is a sheriff for Orange County, and he is so good. His background is just fantastic. So we're going to kind of do it around him at the time that he gets there, because he has something else he has to go to too. And so we'll just kind of play with that timing to introduce him. And then for CSDA, we have now taken over CSDA's area on the new board. And also we have an executive board meeting, which now I'm on. And that was a closed session going through Neil for his salary and going through his whole time that he's been there. And so that is then, let's see, what else do I have here? Waco, I have Waco, and Waco was in December. I don't know how many people went to that, but Kathy Green is president, and Vice President Larry And they had 3 speakers, and the speakers were on water. Well, Mesa Water District was one of the speakers on the pipeline integrity program, and another speaker on 18 square miles of service area, and then on goals on how they accomplished this, and then on the pressure of the programming, how they can preserve that programming that they're doing. And then also the 700 forum is coming up now. And so CSDA was going to have a meeting on it, but instead I said, you know, CSDA is going to. So you might want to jot down the date. It's going to be a webinar, which is a Zoom, February 2nd on a Monday. And it'll be 1 to 2:30. And it'll be free for all members of CSDA. And it gives us a chance to look at, you know, where the conflicts are. They'll walk you right through the 700 form, because you have to submit this and you have to do it. So this is a good opportunity to, you know, ask questions and go through it. And tomorrow is actually the sexual harassment meeting, a session. Now, I don't know, Brett, have you gone through that yet?
Yes, I have. The required training. Yes, I have.
Good. Okay, because we have to do that. It's every 2 years. And then let's see, what else? Then I went through a virtual tour that they gave for the board and for the different organizations that are involved up in Sacramento. So I chose for that to, got all these pieces of paper that I'm looking at, that to go through one of the tours, and it was very, very worthwhile. I wish we could do more of these tours, because when you're doing that, you're getting to see how other agencies participate and their involvement and their how much they do. Mine that I chose was Mount View Sanitary District, and that's up north, but it was really worthwhile. And I do have a lot of information on it, and I do have paperwork, but of course I can't give it to you. So, but if you want it, just let me know. And let's see, what else is there? Then I also attended a finance committee meeting for CSDA. That I'm on that committee, and I'm also on the ledge committee, and I attended that meeting. And let's see, that's about it. Oh, and yeah, then the legislation, and then I'm on professional development committee up in Sacramento too. So involved in that, and that's about it.
Thank you, Director Schaefer, Secretary Schaefer. I also attended the Waco meeting in January, and it was a discussion by a JPL scientist, very technical, about climate change, and you know, he gave us perspective. CO2 is actually the biggest culprit, and the clouds have a large interaction with CO2. They have a large reflection of sun rays is coming down or sun rays going back up, and water, the oceans are the biggest sink for CO2. CH4 or methane is far less a factor, although it gets a lot of play. That methane gas comes from landfills and cows and whatnot. And fossil fuels play a big role, but I think as the climate gets, as we get greener, that's what I'm trying to say, as a nation and as a world, that should have a big impact, since fossil fuels are probably at least 50% contributor to greenhouse gases. Any other meetings? Let's see. SDRMA, Vice President Schaefer.
Yeah, just a quick report. We had our board meeting the first full week of January, and the first item of business was to elect officers for SDRMA, and I am, I guess, pleased to tell you that the board reelected me as president of SDRMA for the next year, so I have that responsibility. We also talked about, I keep mentioning to all of you this captive organization that we're forming to increase our investments and hopefully help affect those rates that we talked about earlier. So we're moving into that. We'll have a meeting next week, actually. We did form and make some formal presentations about our captive, and I think I told you it's going to be based in Utah instead of Hawaii. So board meetings will be in Salt Lake City instead of Honolulu, and I'm not sure how they got that one past us, but they did. Anyway, I'll have more details on the captive, and it may be some things of interest to Mark Davis. So we'll see. We had a report from our investment people, and kind of echoed what Mark said on the picture with investments. So that was generally it for SDRMA. We're still, again, working on these rates and trying to find some reinsurers and excess lines people that can give us some better rates. You know, Scott had mentioned about the pooling effect, and we want to make sure that the pool is successful. One other real quick item, I will, those of you that know where the SDRMA building is on I Street in Sacramento, you know, we're right across the street from the Sheraton Hotel. And Arlene, you know the building. Right across the street is a huge Goodyear tire
Yes.
shop. Okay. Well, that property has just been put up for sale. Apparently the investor who wants to buy that property, and we're talking downtown Sacramento, is looking into putting 250 single family housing units in that square in downtown Sacramento. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Wow.
And the last thing I'll tell you is last Wednesday, of course, during the inauguration, Laura Gill, the CEO, and I had a discussion about, you know, there was high alert. The National Guard had told businesses in downtown Sacramento they needed to close through last Friday. So I had authorized that all of our employees not come in to work at SDRMA on Wednesday, the 13th, to work remotely. And of course, nothing happened, which is the good news. But Sacramento, downtown Sacramento, was in a pretty high alert last Wednesday, and fortunately they got through it okay. So with that, Mr. President, be glad to answer any questions.
A number or several of us also attended the city district liaison meeting. It's the first one we've had for a while, and it was a good meeting. There were 12 items talked about by either the city, the sanitary district, and Mesa Water. I can read. Yeah, the bridge shelter was talked about. The diversion project. Actually, COVID is a big issue. And Mesa talked about their water line leak and their need to borrow $70 million. And then the only thing on the agenda for the school district was we need to change the meeting date for the April meeting. These are quarterly. I think they're going to get back on schedule. They can be very important meetings. We also talked about our President Pump Station, Sanitary District talked about the President Pump Station, and the city is going to help us advertise that some of the impacts to residents who normally can walk by our pump station as the construction goes on. That impact, that station will be into 2024 before it's completed, and it'll be starting starting the actual construction starting in a few months. So it's going to be a long project. It's a very important project to rehab that station, but it was a good meeting. We got out of there in just about an hour's time, going over those 12 items, mainly because I was leading the meeting, and I think I was channeling Jim Warner. These meetings used to only take about 15 minutes when he was president.
Mr.
Hey, Bob,
President, I had
one comment about Waco, if I can.
Sure.
I guess I'm going to be the lone voice here. That was about as boring a meeting as I've ever attended.
I liked it, but
well, I mean, I hope the Waco subcommittee starts looking at their programs a little bit, and there are wastewater and water agencies there, and I would hope they would start talking about some things that are more relevant to what's going on in Orange County instead of that. I mean, that guy really knew what he was talking about, and I'm glad he did, because only Bob, you and him understood everything, I think.
Oh, well, they've been dependent on JPL. JPL actually attends the meetings, and they've had some very good strategic discussions in the past, but I think that executive committee, you get flounders every once in a while. And,
Mr. President, I had a question. You talked about the liaison meeting. Did you have a date in April?
Yes.
There will be something published soon, Arlene.
21st.
23rd.
23rd.
The 23rd.
Yeah, it's going to the 23rd.
Okay.
So it's April 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
Newport Mesa is handling that one.
Yeah, because when it's up towards the start of the month, I have meetings up in Sacramento, but this is perfect. Okay, thank you.
Any other meetings that the directors need to report on?
Yes, I also attended the Waco meeting with the greenhouse gases. You did a good report. I wrote up a good synopsis of it, which I'll be submitting. And I also went to the the CAC meeting, which I thought was pretty good with a new member. And Adam Meredith was selected to the board for the CAC. And I had a question about, I know we're advertising for CAC membership. And I was going to ask Nolani if anybody has submitted anything as of today's date.
Yes, I believe last week we received one additional application, which now makes it for a total of 4 applications ready to go forward for consideration in March.
And we need 5, is that correct?
Yes.
Is it March or is it May, Nolani? March?
It's March.
It's March. Okay, that's when the leadership of that, or that committee changes, or could change.
Yes.
Any other meetings that the directors need to report on?
Yes, I also attended the city council meeting, which is pretty informative. I thought it was real good. The main thing is, the city manager gave a report that they're looking at the senior center, pharmacies, and other locations, possibly the fairgrounds, for vaccination locations, which is good. The city attorney gave a report that the jail release is not going to be enforced where they're releasing the prisoners, but the city is. People had called to complain that the city wasn't enforcing the COVID regulations, but they said, yes, the city is enforcing the COVID safety orders. And then the new business, appointing a new planning commissioner. They reinstated Jonathan Zick to District 1. District 2 is, I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, Kate Colbert. He's back again. And Russell Tolert is a new appointee for District 6. And then John Stevens was the mayor's choice. So John Stevens is back in action on the planning commission.
That's great.
Yeah, that's real good. He'll be a real strong helper for that commission.
Yes.
And then, I'll be attending the later, I'll be attending the Orange County Sanitation meeting in SARFA, which is on Thursday. And I'll give a report next week.
Art, did they
Yeah.
say anything about the housing that's going in near the airport?
No, they did not. They
Oh,
didn't
okay.
talk, that wasn't on the agenda this time.
Okay.
But that meeting only took 1 hour well, actually, it ended at, I think, 8:30. So that was like an hour and a half meeting, which is the new record for them for late.
Gee.
But there are other things they talked about, but I have it in, they talked about the bridge shelter being completed, I think this year. And some other items, which I'll put in my,
Mhm.
when I sent my meeting thing, I'll put it in writing for you guys.
Okay, can we go? Do any of the other directors need to report on meetings?
No.
Okay, then oral communications and directors' comments. I have one. I've asked Vice President Schaefer to attend the agenda setting meeting. I went through some of the meeting minutes from the various committees, and we're going to have 10 or 12 items to discuss, and then we have to determine what staff can do and when. From something like the 3-cart proposal by Orange Coast or by CRNR, and that interaction with OCC, with the diversion requirements that cities up against. And we've had some discussion, maybe need more about the emergency use of portable generators. And we talked about pharmaceuticals. I think we need an update on that. And anyway, we'll have a lot of discussion with staff about what to put on future study session items. And I've asked Vice President Schaefer to sit in with me on those meetings. And that's the first Monday of the month.
I think that's a great idea. I think that with you two guys handling those agenda items, those would be important for us for good success. Yeah, Mike.
Does anyone else have any director communications or comments?
This is Mike real quick. I just want to, I use Facebook a lot, and I use it for, obviously personal reasons, and I use it for my business as well. And I just want to pass on a kudo to staff. Our presence from CMSD on Facebook has been fabulous. If you get a chance to look at it today, staff put a post about sandbags. And so our staff is really doing a great job on getting our social media presence. The only thing I would ask staff to do is please don't use any of the Bernie Sanders memes that are out there. I think everybody's getting tired of looking at those, but our Facebook presence for CMSD is really terrific, and just wanted to make sure everybody knew that for staff.
Mm.
I have a question. Is Tropepi helping us with that, or are we doing that on our own? Scott, you know that?
No, that's Nalani and her staff. They're staying on top of it. That's their doing.
I see that every day, and I usually give a share or have a comment or a like. I think they've done a great job.
Yeah, no, they have. Agreed.
Oh, one thing of interest that Mr. Mosier had told us about earlier was the Newport Beach will, I think, have a city council meeting tomorrow night to discuss CRNR, either renewing the contract with CRNR are going out to bid for their trash contract. So that might be something that somebody needs to be tuned into. You know, the word on the street is, you know, rates are going to be skyrocketing, and trash haulers. We'll have a future agenda item, study session item on the 3-cart system and so on. But
There was something in the paper about Newport Beach having the 3 cans. Now, I think Mike is here, isn't he, at this meeting? Mike Carey?
Yeah, I saw him earlier. Mike, do you have any comments on that? Mike Carey?
Yes, Newport has 2 agenda items with recycling on their agenda tomorrow night. They're looking at moving to a 3-cart system. They currently do not have organics. They are looking into implementing that and adjusting the way that trash is collected in Newport, limiting the number of bulky item pickups from unlimited to a fixed amount, eliminating the ability of residents to be able to place excess bags next to their carts, be more streamlined with how most other cities are handling their waste disposal.
Are you going to be attending that meeting, Mike?
Yes, I am, virtually, of course.
Yeah, virtually. Yeah, that maybe give us an update.
Well, yeah, that might be a future important future study session item.
Yeah, right.
Mr. President?
Pardon?
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question for Scott, and I was planning to also attend as a viewer at tomorrow night's city council meeting in Newport. So
good.
I plan to be on that as well. And then just revisiting our own study session a couple weeks ago. Obviously, Christmas trees were a big talk. Scott, we talked several suggestions and also some recommendations going forward for future years on Christmas trees. Can we get some sort of report from CR&R for maybe some of our suggestions and some of theirs to maybe streamline and be a little bit better efficient? Because COVID or not, I think there's some improvements that could be done for Christmas tree pickup. Is that something we can request of them?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Thank you. That's all I have.
Brett, would you like that to be, since it's fresh on our mind, it just happened, should that be an agenda item for the next study session?
That would be my preference, yes.
Okay.
Good.
Mike, help me remember that, or staff will know.
Yeah. Someone's taking minutes.
Okay. Can we go on then to our closed sessions? We need, Nalani, do you need to get us in the break room? Mark, before you go, I'd like to chat with you sometime. Do you have my telephone number or my email?
Mark Davis or Mark Esker?
Mark Esker. I know how to get a hold of Mark Davis. Mark, you're muted. Mark Esker, you're muted.
Sorry about that, Bob. I thought I unmuted my phone. I guess I didn't unmute the video, but I'll get a hold of you. Let me chat with Scott. We'll get a hold of you, and then whatever it is you want to go over, I'm happy to do that with you.
Okay. No, I just want to welcome you. Nalani, can you take us to the
Closed session. Did you want to read out the title of the closed session, Mr. President?
Hi, Caitlin.
would you, my screen is gone. All I have is people on the screen. I don't have a split screen right now.
Sure. Closed session is of 2 items. The first item being public employee performance evaluation for the general manager. And the second item is conference with legal counsel regarding existing litigation Paragraph 1 of subdivision D, section 54956.9, California River Watch versus Costa Mesa Sanitary District, USDC number 820-CV01702. Entering closed session now.
Okay, you're gonna move us to the meeting?
You will go ahead and move. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, on the closed session items, the two items, there's no reportable action. Delaney, can you put the split screen back up? Or is it time to adjourn the meeting?
Now would be appropriate to adjourn the meeting.
Pardon?
You may adjourn the meeting now, sir.
Okay. The meeting, the Costa Mesa Sanitary meeting on January 25th is adjourned. Thank you very much for all your help.
Good job, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.